Hi Pisces, it's Romy here. Welcome to the channel. This is your June 2021 soul story. So if you've got your sun rising or moon in Pisces, then all my readings are general, but you might find some of the insights just help to enable you to navigate through the next few weeks with a little bit more of a heads up. So we're into this Gemini energy, and we're going to be welcoming this new moon solar eclipse coming in on the 10th of the month. We open up your reading with the energy of the Empress. And I do feel as we light up that fourth house of home and nurturing and really taking care of that kind of inner parenting and nourishing of the self, there's also a nice emerging of feeling a little bit more empowered by way of your boundaries. There's something about you investing in the space around you which is going to make a huge difference to have this kind of sanctuary as we move through what could be quite a wild and chaotic and intense month ahead. You know, there's a dizzying amount of information. It can feel really overwhelming, and yet you're stepping forward with the guidance of the Empress that's telling you like everything is okay here. We're having waves of sort of energetic clearing, and there's this idea of so much of the energy kind of blending and fusing, but I also feel like there's a nice flow to it. This is not a month for you to be chasing anything, Pisces, chasing any person, any situation, any outcome. I know that things don't always go to plan, and sometimes we feel like we're crashing and burning, or things are kind of being driven into a wall, and especially with the redirections of what these sudden changes and shifts can bring about with eclipse season, what you're really looking to anchor into is what and where makes you feel really safe, seen, held, supported. And of course that has to come from, you know, the inside out initially. So we've got Venus moving into a fellow water sign, Cancer, on the 2nd of the month. That's going to put you in a good position by way of how you are tapping into your own emotions. And perhaps there's a lot going to be going around in terms of making sure that the space that supports you, whether that be your home life, your work life, or even the environments that you're spending a lot of time through the month of June, are really reflecting things that feel nourishing to you. So maybe you might need to just kind of change things up a little bit, maybe have a little bit of a spring clean, or move the energy around so that it feels far more supportive for you. Of course, these eclipses bring things to light, they bring things to the surface to be cleared out, and there's an awful lot of release and closure that comes down from that. But you're coming into this really creative, generative energy with both the Empress and now the Three of Pentacles. And so, you know what, it feels to me like that eclipse could unleash some really crazy ideas, like things that you think to yourself, no, that could never work, or that would never happen. But actually what it's going to require from you is some really bold, actionable moves at the same time. Now, yes, we've got Mercury retrograde right through till the 22nd of the month, and so of course there's always an invitation to go back to things that perhaps you'd previously been thinking about, or move that focus in that direction, that inquiry on the internal aspect of things. And that's really going to give you so many of your answers. There's a beautiful feeling of the space between sort of where you are now and what you're waiting for is really all about you. Like, you are the catalyst, you are the change, you are the energy that's going to shift. And what I want to say is, where do you feel that maybe you've been sort of bracing for impact on something? Because I feel like we need to relax into this. The Empress is really at peace with where she sits right now. She's not moving. You do have a lot more action and activity coming in with the Three of Pentacles, so there's going to be a time for that. So it's getting the right balance between sort of work and play. But if you have found that you're just really stressed and tense in your body because you're just trying to force something or figure something out, maybe understand where someone or something is coming from, and maybe that's causing a little bit of a split in your energy, it's really important that you again return to that inner parenting. What do you need to take care of within the self? Is there a kind of dictatorial attitude that's saying, I have to do it, I must do this, I need to do it in this way? And where is that voice coming from? Because it's not coming from the still, centered, peaceful, spiritual aspect of you that's saying, you know what this is really about in terms of the Gemini Sagittarius eclipse energy is the narrative and the discussion that's taking place between our higher and our lower mind, between evolving ourselves to a higher state of consciousness. And so There's so much to be able to learn as you go about blending and fusing with some of the energies that are moving around you. And self-awareness is absolutely everything this month, Pisces. I think you're really starting to cherish yourself, listening to yourself, listening to your body, listening to where things are coming up for you. And what I feel that's also going to do is give you much more self-reliance. And that's important because as you're able to withdraw some of the energy that's been directed or invested into people or experiences, situations right now that are not really delivering back to you, and that then cause you to feel somehow less than because you're not getting that energy exchange in the right way. You know, like we said, no more chasing. So your Ace of Swords is giving you clarity. It's giving you a moment to kind of draw a line and say, okay, I have a choice here. What is making me feel safe and what is making me feel that I am not in an energy, or I'm not comfortable with how I'm perceiving myself. I'm not showing up in the way that I want to be true to who I am. And so, you know, there is an honesty and, you know, there is a sobering quality that comes up with eclipse energies, you know, because sometimes things are taken out with our control and we can experience that kind of really sudden shift and change that sort of, I guess, kind of knocks us a little bit. It's almost like that kind of banana skin that's placed right in front of us in our path. But the thing to remember is that we're going to constantly keep coming up against moments in life that, you know, things don't go to plan for us. And so what we're also seeing with this Ace of Swords is your capacity to be able to hold an understanding that in any given eventuality you have what it takes, because you've proved it time and time again, to actually understand from a growth perspective what you're supposed to be learning, but also find a way through. This is a month where I really see you being able to find a new way through, because you're changing the dialogue with yourself. It really matters. Now on the 14th, we're going to be welcoming the second of these squares between Saturn and Uranus, and the first one happened on the 17th of February. And so thinking back to that time in terms of what was around you, the themes that were playing out is also going to give you a little bit of a heads up, not so blindsided this time around, and the opportunity to maybe have a slightly different emotional response to what's happening. Make sure you're really aware of who's in your life by choice, you know, who's surrounding you that you can really cherish, because you're not having to force it, you're not having to push it. You know, these squares can make things really uncomfortable and provocative for us. And so what we're looking at is a month where you are seeking a safe harbour, and you know the right people or the places that are going to give you that sanctuary. And from that place, Magician energy is bringing forth this amazing ability for you to actually spin things, you know, like spin from an alchemical perspective, any situation that feels less desirable and make something really meaningful from it. And actually, you know, even if you are going through some real hardship or difficulty right now, I feel like what you're able to express creatively, emotionally, is really going to give you a surprise, like a pleasant surprise for yourself, you know. There's an indication, of course, with the Magician energy that says we do need to step out and share and bring something to the forefront. Now, all of these planets going retrograde can kind of want us to almost step back a little bit, and yet you'll feel sort of being pushed and pushed and pushed to the edge of the cliff to say, no, now is the time to kind of open up, to share, to be a little bit more vulnerable in that instance. And so if you can find that right balance between making sure that you are protecting your energy and coming at it from a place that what you're giving is not going to rob you or feel like you've drained yourself, but at the same time allows you to sort of step outside of comfort zones, that's when you're really going to see some of the magic stepping through with this magician energy. You're also shown to me to be able to adapt and be super flexible through the course of this month, which I think is going to be really important because of the types of people you're going to be dealing with and the ways in which they are going to be interacting with you. There is almost this sense of like wildly different approaches and different types of narratives that are coming through, and people are choosing to come at it from, some people are kind of really digging, provocative, like pushy, I need this from you, I want this from you now. Others in that much more sort of stepped back but slightly manipulative kind of undertone. So I think you're just going to see a little bit of everything playing out as people are impacted very differently through the course of all the energy influences of June, and also the sense of urgency where people feel like they have to kind of move quickly to not miss out, or to get things done, or to kind of recover from what has changed, or where they're feeling fearful. And so you're going to be in quite an observing role as you sort of see all of that play out, and being able to kind of shapeshift your way to be able to deal with people slightly differently, I think is also going to make sure that you don't get caught up and dragged down, so to speak, with what other people have got going on. So we've got Jupiter then moving retrograde in your sign, Pisces, on the 20th of the month. We also have Neptune going retrograde in your sign on the 25th. So, these are going to have a major impact in terms of you starting to really, I think, deal and assess with where some of the plans, the ideas, the growth that you've been investing in, or what you've been hoping or expecting, and how it's changing your life, and kind of how you're measuring that. And so there might be a little bit of a taking stock, some moments to make some edits or reviews, or shore up, or kind of clear out some energy. And there's maybe a little bit of a moment of awakening to the harsh truth of where something hasn't worked, or where you've been unrealistic with yourself or others. But all of that, even though it creates some slight internal conflict within the self, and maybe even some disagreements with others, as you kind of come to the realization that actually they're not so on board in terms of what I thought, or they're maybe not going to deliver what I'd expected. And so even though it might feel slightly uncomfortable, as you move deeper into the process through the retrograde season with these planets in your sign, what you're going to come to terms with more and more is a deeper sense of acceptance about actually where you can thrive, where the energy is moving, where the expansion and change is shifting on the inside. And like we said, this wave of sort of energetic clearing that's taking place is going to allow you to kind of make some really important decisions about what's staying and what's going. And from that perspective, it's the requirement for you to kind of take charge to a certain degree of aspects of your life in a more determined and focused way than you have, for a while. And even if the course of this year has felt like it's kind of repeatedly sort of put walls up in front of you, I think you're going to have the opportunity through June and July especially to really understand what they've sort of forced to come to the surface for you. And even if it's things that kind of needed to be healed on a deeper level, it's going to be really helpful. Now, as the sun moves into Cancer, fellow water sign, you're going to feel much more in harmony and flow with this. In fact, Mercury is going to be moving direct on the 22nd. We then welcome the solstice energy on the 21st. And on the same day, Venus is trining with Neptune. We have the opportunity to come together from a community, a friendship perspective. And I think there's just a very peaceful vibe that I get around this energy for you. Perhaps some reconciliation, or kind of clearing the air, or making peace, because everything about that solstice, that moment where the sun stands still, is about finding a new sense of balance and equilibrium within the self and the environment around us. So something important about the way that you will move towards this date, and actually seeing the blessing in something, and perhaps being able to see the blessing in someone, is also going to be significant. Conversations feel like they open up a little bit more in and around that time for you as well. Of course, we make our way to the full moon in the sign of Capricorn on the 24th, so there is a grounding, kind of actualizing, tangible feel to something that's going on, even though a lot of the energy surrounding solstice is very emotive and very ethereal, and kind of giving that nice sort of dreamy vibe that sort of helps you to unlock something from your subconscious, but at the same time, like, take that moon energy and say, right, this is what I need to let go of, and this is what I want to manifest under this energy. So it comes in on a really beautiful vibe, I feel, for some of you. And perhaps you're going to be connecting and coming together with people that either you haven't seen for some time or just really experiencing some different types of connections. I have a sense that this month for you Pisces, there's just going to be so many different types of people showing up in your life. It's going to be really interesting. You know, you're going to be learning new things about yourself. You're going to be learning new things about a lot of things because of what people are bringing to your attention, bringing to your awareness, wanting to get you involved in. And of course, Cancer season is about that fifth house energy for you. So it lights up your creative space. It lights up the romance in your life. It lights up how you connect to desire and pleasure and things that make you feel good and really open up that kind of heart space. Now, your Hierophant comes in here and says that maybe an aspect of this is about what you want to invest in by way of learning or advancing yourself, especially from a spiritual growth perspective. And so it's going to be a fantastic time to kind of really take a step back and say, okay, what's come up for me by way of healing, and now what do I want to do about that? You know, what am I interested in? Is there some sort of healing modality or this area of study, or is there something that I can just take for myself, you know, that's going to feel like my sanctuary? It's going to feel like I'm giving myself the opportunity to advance at this point. And, you know, in that energy where you're not chasing anyone or anything else, all you're doing is fulfilling and nourishing and nurturing, parenting your own inner self. Like, that's where I see you just making leaps and bounds through the course of this month. Now, you know, Hierophant does bring in that Taurus energy, and of course there is something about needing to commit, needing to ground in, needing to make a decision and kind of stay true to yourself with it. In Gemini season, especially with that shape-shifting magician, we might find that a little bit more challenging, but I think it's going to be asked of you in some way. There is going to be a moment where you have to kind of decide which side of the fence you're on or which way you're going to go. And if you do feel split, I suppose the question that you need to ask yourself is, what is it that you really want? What is it that you really want? Not what you wish you wanted, or what you think you should want, or what you think you ought to, or what somebody else wants for you. It's a difference of like really just being honest and saying, in this moment, what does genuinely feel right for me, and am I going to honor it? Am I going to move towards it? Because that's going to make it far easier for you to commit and follow through. There's got to be some sense of like an energy spark there. And remember, we talked about this kind of crazy ideas coming through, and some of that's going to require some actionable plans that you need to put in place. Again, Capricorn full moon is really going to help you with that. Actually, Venus moving into Leo as well from the 27th sort of takes us out of that very sensitive, emotive energy of Venus in Cancer, and sort of gives us a little bit more heart, a little bit more passion, a little bit more bravery to just say, let's do this. So your Knight of Pentacles, again, sort of giving that nice earthly rooted opportunity to commit and to show up for someone or something. Now, you know, you may be seeing things moving a little bit more slowly than you would like, but of course retrograde can kind of slow things down. So, you know, work with the energy, not against it. Don't get frustrated, right? Don't allow that to start to kind of cause bickering or frustration to well up and then it be projected into the projects, the conversations, the relationships, because it's going to get you tangled up where you don't need to be, okay? This is about you understanding that your inner wealth isn't in question here. No one's going to steal it. No one's going to take it. Everything that is innately yours and that you are meant to fulfill right now in this journey is going to unfold in the way that it's supposed to. And if someone isn't on board or where they need to be yet, it's just where they are, not always who they are. And so we can recognize that. And rather than sort of spend our time and energy investing into someone that isn't ready, we can withdraw and redirect it to something that's going to be really helpful for you. I think there's some interesting conversations that are going to come up for some of you through the course of this month in relation to possible changes or possible advancement by way of career, work, business. And I think you're going to be pondering and perhaps, yes, feeling a little bit uncertain or unsure as if it's the right way forward. We have some beautiful trine energies coming in on June timeline. So pay attention to the 3rd when the sun's going to trine with Saturn and Venus is going to trine with Jupiter. Really powerful day. At the same time, Venus trining Neptune on the 21st, and then on the 23rd, the sun trining with Jupiter. So the 3rd, the 21st, the 23rd. Pay attention to these dates, because I think in and around this time, you're going to get a clearer indication of actually what it is that your heart's really speaking to you about, yeah? And of course that is at the backdrop of like eclipse revelations and provocations with some of these more challenging energies that are coming in. And so it's easy to kind of get caught up in the drama and the conflict and the stress of that. But don't put too much at your door. Like, don't take on so much that you feel like you're kind of locking yourself down, you know? I think one of the things that's going to be challenging for Pisces through the course of this month is that you have seen the growth and the possibility and the potential and the hope of something. And it's like you've seen enough that it's kind of whet your appetite or really got you invested or going with something. And then we might hit one or two kind of tricky challenges that we have to work our way around, potholes that are going to just feel like they're tripping us up and kind of causing that sense of imbalance. And it's really easy at that moment to start to unpick and untangle everything and think, oh, I didn't get it right, I didn't have it right, it's not what I thought, or this is just going to end up in the same way that it always does. And it's not that. It really isn't that. This is the time where we start to have a new dialogue with ourselves. So you might need to kind of almost put yourself in what feels like an impossible situation. And why would we do that? Yeah, why would we take the time to make things more difficult for ourselves than they need to be? Well, sometimes that's the very energy that can bring about the most powerful solutions for us. And so kind of almost backing yourself into a corner can be just the right blend where you kind of allow the energy to get really intense, and it's going to be an intense month. And then from that, there's just like a moment that needs to release, that explodes, that kind of, rises up. And, from that, there might be quite an outburst energy from you, maybe we need to just like cry it out. Maybe we need to get really mad. Maybe we just need to allow that energy to shift and move. And again, make sure that you're clearing that energy in your space, whether you're just creating some kind of sound healing, whether you are turning the music up, whether you are clapping it out. Like, I feel like you need to shift the energy in the space once you've also had that release. But overall this month for me, I feel like you've actually got quite a nice flow going with yourself. It's just a case of like, how do we protect it? So when too many other people come in with, energy that isn't that conducive to what we've got going on, that we don't lose that nice sweet frequency that we've developed for ourselves, I think it's also going to give you a lot of clarity by way of specific people that you have been sort of waiting for. And whether you actually want to persevere or whether you're going to just call time, or maybe that even is going to get time called on you anyway. Let's take a look and see these oracle cards, what comes through. Eyes of the Eagle, rising above the fray. Yeah, I do have the sense that you are kind of in this very observing, on the outside looking in energy through the course of this month, and even though that might be causing some conflict, or you might be aware of some disagreement that's kind of, moving in circles around you, there's this greater desire more and more to just not be involved in it and to just not be an active participant in it. And yes, there'll be moments where you feel like I've got no choice, like I have to, but that split is going to start to feel more and more and more uncomfortable. And so you will choose your peace more and more and more. You will choose to do things on your terms, and that's how you're going to kind of counteract this dizzying sort of intensity that might come through by way of some of this eclipse energy. So the ego wants you to fly high, wants you to see things from a longer term perspective and a much wider lens. That's going to give you some comfort and some validation as to why you are experiencing perhaps some emotions that kind of go against the grain, against other people, or you're feeling intuitively, I'm supposed to do this and I don't really know why. So an invitation kind of to give yourself that opportunity to widen the perspective at the same time as going inwards, remember, because all these retrogrades are going to force that to happen, So let's have a look here. Bluebird spirit, beautiful, happiness. What a gorgeous image. You've got the unicorn here, all this cherry blossom. I mean, it just epitomizes connecting to one's inner sense of joy and happiness and vibrancy. And that's fifth house, isn't it? It's like, what can we do to reactivate that feeling of just play in our life, of finding things that just really make us feel good and are nourishing to us? And that might be a difficult ask, because if you are so caught up or kind of entangled in situations that you feel obligated, duty bound, exhausted by, and that there's no escape from. But it's like day by day, moment by moment, start to steal back for yourself precious time that's going to enable you to actually connect into your own natural essence that says, this is what makes me feel good. And if this makes me feel good, I need more of it in my life. You also have beautiful messages coming in by way of this bluebird. So I feel like just look out for like unusual signs coming in, from these little birds that are kind of moving in and around your space through the course of this month. I think they're going to land right at the moment where you're feeling like you're seeking an answer, or you just need to have that extra dose of reassurance. It's coming through, you know. I love that sort of cobalt blue colour as well. For some reason, I feel like that's going to be a really lucky colour for you. So even if you're not wearing that, having that around you in any way, any kind of crystals that are going to be lapis lazuli maybe, would be a stone that might just kind of work well for you in terms of just bringing extra luck and opportunity your way. So your astrological card is Saturn. Feel restricted, experience struggle, learn hard work and patience. So Saturn retrograde, of course, in Aquarius now, in that 12th house energy of release, letting go, coming to terms with things, allowing the energy to move, going very deep into the subconscious. And with that square to Uranus and Taurus, it is gonna challenge you. Like, none of us are gonna escape that vibe through the course of June. It feels intense, but it doesn't have to be a negative experience. It can be one of understanding, deep understanding. That's why the self-awareness is everything this month, look to being wiser. You've got the little owl here in your Hierophant as well. So the things that you're learning by way of the energy of Saturn is going to be immeasurable in terms of like what comes next for you and how you start to take charge and take back control in some aspect, okay? Now, Pisces, this is a general reading for June. If you want to join me for the extended version, we talk for another 20 minutes or so, just go into these energies in a bit more detail. I'm going to invite you just to think about a question that I might not have just discussed in the main part of the reading. We'll pull a couple of cards for that just now. You can find the link in the description box in the comment section underneath. Okay. Just a way to support my channel, and I'm truly grateful for those of you that come on board with the extended. So let's just clarify this Empress energy. We have the Seven of Cups, Eight of Pentacles, an interesting combination. But like we said, you are blending and fusing so many sort of different types of vibes this month. We've got the Knight of Swords and the King of Swords. A little bit of challenge coming on there, Nine of Swords. Remember this discussion, though, about the higher and the lower mind. It's all about our thought forms, and swords is what that represents, our intellect, the way we think, how we sift and sort through the information that's coming to us, multiple planes. Water sign energy of the King of Cups coming in there. You've also got the Hermit coming through. Justice. Another Magician, I like this for you. Another Knight of Pentacles. Really bodes well for the work front. Six of Wands in the Chariot, fantastic energy. Judgment. Seven of Pentacles, been showing up a lot this June readings across all the signs as we sort of take a review of this midpoint of the year. I think Solstice really helping that energy to decide where we want to continue investing our energy, how we're going to balance things up. See what I mean? What comes from this stressful kind of putting yourself in the corner and kind of blocking things off, almost like initiates the spark of something more. Well, definitely rising above the fray of the Ten of Wands. That's needed, isn't it? Your happiness comes from the things that you're going to invest in for yourself. Hierophant again. Oh, nice. Ace of Cups. Okay. Going to leave it there, Pisces. Thank you so much. If you're joining me for the extended, we will carry on this conversation. Otherwise, take good care. Have a great month. Bye-bye.